Can you hear my smile? If you're listening on the radio, you can hear my smile. If you're watching on the Salem News Channel, you can see my smile. President-elect Donald Trump hit a grand slam home run yesterday. Let me walk you through it. Single, Sergio Gore for presidential personnel. Now, that's an obscure office in the White House, but it's the gateway to every job in the executive branch. And Sergio, been around for a while. I don't know him very well. I think I've met him once. He worked for Rand Powell for a while. He's a smart, savvy insider. My old boss at OPM, before she left and I became acting director of OPM, was Constance Horner. She was PPO for George H.W. Bush. Before that, Bob Tuttle was the PPO who hired me into the Reagan White House and the Department of Justice. And it's an important job. Not many people know about it, but it's an important job. Sergio is young, and he's fast, and he's smart. The double is Doug Collins for the Secretary of the Veterans Administration, because Doug's a great Navy veteran, very smart. I sat down with him once when he was the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee and walked away saying, wow, that guy is smart. He ran for and did not win the Senate. He's a chaplain, a man of God. He's a great, great person. He has a heart for veterans. That's great. The triple is Todd Blanche. Now, I'm going to play for you this hour an encore of my interview with Todd Blanche, veteran of the Southern District of New York, friend of Andrew McCarthy, and he is the lawyer for President Trump in the proceedings in New York and Florida. He hit the home run in Florida, case dismissed. He's going to win in New York. He is a bulldog. He is smart as the day is long. He'll be the number 2 at the Department of Justice, and he will bring the flamethrower to melt the resistance out of the wall. He is a smart, smart lawyer, and he knows everybody, and he knows everything. Everyone at the Southern District knows it. But what I'm really happiest about, absolutely over the moon, Doug Burgum is going to be the Secretary of the Interior. Now, I don't know Doug well. I know him well enough. And I've had a long meal with him. I've talked with him. I communicate with him. I didn't know this was happening. He kept it very discreet. I was praying. I wanted him for state or interior. Interior is the beast of the federal agency. It has 70,000 of the non-defense federal agency, has 70,000 employees. Let me run down for you what the Department of the Interior runs. One of the original departments. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Bureau of Indian Education, the Bureau of Land Management, that's a nightmare, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, the Bureau of Reclamation, the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, the Bureau of Trust Fund Administration, the National Park Service, the Office of Surface Mining Reclamation and Enforcement, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the U.S. Geological Service. Now, I spent 27 years arm wrestling the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Army Corps of Engineers. Always U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Everything the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service does hurts you, and it doesn't help species. Literally everything. They do not know what they're doing. They really don't. They're nice people. They have no idea. A bunch of biologists running around making up theories about habitat, threatened habitat, unoccupied habitat, critical habitat. Can be done in one day with AI. Doug Burgum is a Silicon Valley genius, the governor of North Dakota. He would have been a great vice presidential selection. He is smart, smart, smart. There are 70,000 people at the Department of the Interior. 70,000. There's a best and there's a worst. And most of the worst are at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I kid you not. It is the worst run agency in the federal government as far as I know personally, because they seize people's property by declaring it might be part of an endangered species habitat. I offer you the Delhi Sands flower-loving fly, which I litigated over for years, argued over for years. The Delhi Sands flower-loving fly lives out in San Bernardino, California. There aren't many of them left because there's not enough habitat for it to live on. It was developed before they found it. It comes out of the ground once a year for about 3 days. And if the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service thinks that it's anywhere near your land, they won't let you use your land. Private land, not public land, private land. And they don't think it's a taking. Or a vernal pool fairy shrimp, or Riverside fairy shrimp, or a Santa Barbara fairy shrimp. They don't show up for years. They live in vernal pools. Vernal pools in California don't fill up very often. Then you can't distinguish between the ones which are common and the one which are endangered. It's all made up. California gnatcatcher isn't endangered. Anyway, I know this agency. I know the EPA, Region 9, that deals with them. Every time you want to develop a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service piece of land or a piece of land over which the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service claims jurisdiction, you get sued by the crazy environmentalists. And then the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service settles with them about your land, and you can't build it. I had clients, the Morgers. They both died. They both died. They put everything they could into a bunch of land in Riverside County, and they died waiting for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to declare whether or not it could be built on. It is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. The Bureau of Indian Affairs does not work very well. Bureau of Land Management should be offloading all sorts of land for people to build houses on. We have a housing shortage in the United States. We have homeless veterans. Bureau of Land Management can fix that tomorrow. Took me forever to get the City of North Las Vegas and the Bureau of Land Management to transfer some Bureau of Land Management land to the City of North Las Vegas so my client, a private developer, could come in and build houses for the City of North Las Vegas. I don't want a job. I'm retired from that stuff. No, I've got white hair. I had brown hair when I started dealing with the Department of the Interior. They have independent litigating authority. The solicitor of the Department of Interior can go to court. And the Center for Biological Diversity, the worst of them all, beyond notice. Doug Burgum is not for messing around. And by the way, he'll do right by the land. He's a steward of the land. He has been the governor of North Dakota for a long time. He's a steward of the land. He does not put up with nonsense. He is smart, 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 smart. And when I say smart, he mortgaged his family farm, took all the proceeds, went to Silicon Valley, developed prototype 1 for some software, got eaten alive by Microsoft, said, oh, that's not going to work. Developed prototype number 2, made $1 billion, he's worth $1 billion. And then he sold it everywhere. He went over to China on a trip, and it was being copied over there. So he's very aware of intellectual property, very aware. He's just so smart. Not a lawyer, that's a plus. He'll pick good people. He'll put them in place. They will have we will have my private dream. He knows energy. I was afraid he would end up at energy. It's a great department, but it has a limited portfolio. It's in charge of our research labs at Los Al and the other ones. And it's a good job, but I didn't want Doug Burgum to be pigeonholed at energy. He can get with the Secretary of Energy and say, we got all this land on the Bureau of Land Management. Let's put a small nuclear reactor, a small modular reactor on each of them and power America's future. Work hand in glove. He'll take care of the Park Service, by the way. A lot of people say the best job in the country is the National Park Service. My friend Ron ran it for a while. Nixon called him up at the end of Nixon's administration. Said, what do you want, Ron? Ron had advanced the trip to China. Said, I want the Park Service. And Nixon gave it to him. It's a great job, because who doesn't like Yosemite and Yellowstone? Who doesn't like any national park? Smoky Mountain, you name it. People love them. So that's the good side. Our Native American friends deserve better than they have ever gotten from the federal government, but Doug Burgum can deliver that. He can manage all this. I bet you the U.S. Geological Survey actually doesn't need much managing. It probably is just fine. I think Commerce has the National Maritime Fisheries. That when Elon and Vivek get to going, send more to DOI, Interior, and let Burgum run it. So I'm just here to say, grand slam, Mr. President-elect. Grand slam. Sergio, Doug, Todd, and Doug. Best day of the transition to date, and we've had good ones. A great one when Marco Rubio went to state, Mike Walt went to the White House, and Susie Wiles went to the White House. And the ones that you're upset about, the Senate will do its job. They will figure out who can do what, and they will not let people through, and they'll be withdrawn. Marco Rubio, great. Tom Homan, great border czar. Listened to Ruthless yesterday. Cannot wait to hear Getting Hammered today. Had lunch yesterday with Vic Mattis, co-host with Mary Catherine Ham. Vic is one of the smartest guys in town, Mary Catherine. If you don't listen to Getting Hammered, I'm here to tell you, Getting Hammered is the best podcast for husbands and wives to listen to together as they go anywhere. But I listen to Getting Hammered, Ruthless Podcast, Wayne's World, of course. I don't listen to Highly Concentrated Hugh, my own podcast. I listen to the editors. I listen to Dan Senor, Call Me Back, and I listen to commentary. If you do those 7, you'll be smart. You'll be very, very smart. Watch Fox News if you want some pictures and breaking news, and then listen to 7 podcasts and me, and you'll be smart. And I'm here to tell you, President-elect Trump hit a grand slam home run. One of them, Todd Blanche, to be Deputy Attorney General, he was my guest this summer, talking about Mershon and the circus clowns show up in Manhattan. I'm going to reprise that, replay it for you, so you can hear Todd Blanche talk about Donald Trump and why he's going to be such a great Deputy Attorney General. Again, I don't want a job. I'm retired, friends. I want nothing. I just want to applaud Donald Trump, Sergio Gore, Doug Collins, and especially Doug Burgum. What a great overnight. What wonderful stuff to wake up to. I'm Hugh Hewitt.